Well, it's Wednesday, and we've got some goodies for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about Hendon Hooker, the man of the hour. He's been getting a lot of talk today. It's no secret that the Lions wanted this day to come sooner rather than later, and it's finally come. Hendon Hooker had his first day of practice today. And to quote Hendon, when he was asked about how practice went, he said, "It was a blast." And that's the kind of energy we love to hear, especially from our Detroit Lions. But let's talk about his timeline and his story and where we're at and some quotes and things that I feel are a little bit meaningful. And you better believe I'm going to throw a few video clips of receipts into this because yours truly called Hendon Hooker to the Detroit Lions during the draft and before the draft.
And I'll be flat out honest with everybody. This quarterback class is terrible. There is not one quarterback that I would want other than Hendon Hooker.
All right, here we go. So Hendon Hooker tore his ACL in his left knee on November 19th, 2022. There was really no timeline for recovery with this process, well, especially during the draft process. But his doctor did tell teams that Hendon was expected to be fully cleared by the first weekend of the season. Being cleared and being able to play are two totally different things. And how much Hendon was going to be able to participate, throughout training camp had yet to be seen. And that was really going to be probably the biggest proponent for Hendon to be able to come back early is if he was able to play well and practice well in training camp. Then the Detroit Lions decided, well, we're going to draft this kid. We're drafting Hendon Hooker. And I feel like they got a really good bargain, picking him at number 68 overall in the third round in the 2023 NFL draft. And this really gave the Lions options at the quarterback position for the first time in a long time. By selecting Hendon Hooker, this gave the Lions a minimum of a high upside backup quarterback and something this team hasn't seen around really on this team in forever. At best, he becomes what? A dynamic starter in the NFL? Great. Love it. I can't wait to see that happen. At worst, though, what are we looking at? Maybe an extremely good backup with dual threat options. I think that's a great spot too. Or maybe eventually someone that takes over for Jared Goff. Well, I'm not so sure on that one right now. I don't think that anyone's coming in to take Jared Goff's job anytime soon. Given even the last few games, look, the guy is still playing, as a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league. I mean, there's quite a bit difference between top 5 and top 10, but his metrics are, in between there. The Lions selecting Hooker gave the Lions, a couple of options, though. Then there was a lot of questions surrounding Hendon's availability. And, of course, some fans thought that, hey, this is Jared's replacement. Like I said, I don't believe that was the case at all, ever. Maybe in a couple of years. But be that as it may, Dan Campbell did not expect Hendon to play much, if at all, during his rookie campaign. When he was on the Green Light podcast with Chris Long back in the spring of 2023, he had this to say. Really, this is a redshirt year for him. He's got to get his leg right first, and then he'll be under Jared Goff. And then let's see what happens. If he can eventually become your 2, or maybe down the road, later on, it's more than that, but it's going to be a long time. To slice and dice, what this says is we're not playing Hendon this year. It could be a redshirt year for him. He won't ever see the field. He won't come off NFI. And maybe, just maybe, sometime down, the road in the not too near future, he could be a replacement for Goff. So I thought that was a really good quote by Dan. But this left us with more questions. As always, Dan Campbell does. Because we had also heard that the Lions wanted to get Hendon activated if they could. And it really made sense, if it made sense for them to do that. Clearly, there was no rush, once the Lions brought in Teddy Bridgewater. And even with this, third quarterback rule, you still have to put somebody on the roster. And let me give you a couple of notes here and a couple of rules, I guess. Because I don't think a lot of people understood this about NFI and what it really means with the injuries in college. But a little note about players who begin the season on the NFI list. 1, they are required to miss at least the first 4 games when they're still on NFI to start the season after roster cuts. And then 2, depending on how much further his recovery was during the season, Detroit could elect to not only start the season with Hooker, on the NFI list, but they could also keep him there throughout his entire rookie campaign. Or 3, they could have activated him at the first opportunity, which is what they're doing now, that he's available to practice and or play. In the event, though, that the team opted to keep Hendon Hooker on the NFI list throughout this entire season, the Lions would have had an option for tolling the first season of his 4-year rookie contract, with 2023 slated to essentially be a redshirt year. That's why Dan Campbell called it, early in the spring and throughout the early days in the summer, a redshirt year, is that's what they were looking at, potentially having to deal with. However, though, the Lions were not also considering this as an option. They didn't want to toll Hendon Hooker's first season. Instead, they were planning on placing him on the active roster at the first opportunity. And now we see that coming to fruition finally, and Hendon has 6 games left to get through his 21-day window and get activated with 3 games left, which will then in turn earn his first credited NFL season. I feel this is important, and I also feel that it shows the type of team organization the Lions have right now and what they're trying to show the NFL and the other, potential players that are coming to Allen Park, that they care. They care about their players. They want to do right by their players. And what they're doing for Hendon right now, they don't have to, but they're doing what's right for their player. They're not going to need Hendon Hooker this season. I mean, they would have to go through Jared Goff and then Teddy Bridgewater to get to Hendon. And I don't, even if Hendon was available, I wouldn't even see him hitting the field this season. And I'll explain more why in a minute. But this credited season has a lot of implications for any player, mostly for NFL benefits. And I listed a few here. The pension obviously depends on how many seasons you have credited. You get health insurance for 5 years once you finish playing. Depends on how many, all of these depend on how many seasons you have credited. The player annuity program, disability benefits, life insurance, 401k, the former player life improvement plan, and the 88 plan, which is a health reimbursement plan for vested players with certain illnesses. And there's others. There's a whole host of other benefits that football players get for the NFL. But look, getting Hendon ready and back to playing football, this was not a question. It was going to happen. The biggest question on Hendon was his age. Some fans, many media personalities thought that he was too old coming out of college. 25 years old is now too old. Man, I feel like a dinosaur. But we knew he had a big arm, right? There was no question there. We knew he had wheels before the injury. There's no question there. We also knew he was a very smart football player, and I do not care about that stupid test that they take because that test is not doing anything on the field for him. I don't care if he failed it, which he kind of did. And it's not the Wonderlic anymore. It's some other like reactionary type of test. I can't remember what it's called right now. Maybe I should take the test. I'm having trouble remembering. But when I speak about, Hendon Hooker, I always spoke to his intelligence around the football. I'm not saying this just to say it either. When you watch Hendon play, when you watch his highlights, when you listen to his former coaches and the players that he played with, every single one of them touts Hendon Hooker as a very intelligent football player. And there's a distinction there. They're not talking about intelligence outside of football. And I'm not saying that Hendon's not a smart guy outside of football. I'm just saying in the game of football, he's an extremely intelligent individual. And Mark Brunell had a very solid quote on Hendon back in September. May shock some of you that didn't know this, but for me, it just kind of validated what I already knew and what I had already researched, and that it made me feel like Brad Holmes made the right choice. I just hope that choice doesn't fall back on us with, the old injury bug that the Lions seem to get. So here's a quote from Mark Brunell. He says, "I've been trying to stump Hendon. Every day I ask him a few questions, and he's always making me mad because he's always getting the answer right. But one of these days, I'm going to get him. He's doing very well. He's putting the time in, and of course, he has his rehab. He's working with the trainers and everybody. In our room, he's been incredible. Really pleased with his progress as far as our offense. He's been sharp." What a pro. Hendon Hooker, I had no doubts. And you'll see why in some of these videos that are popping up if they already haven't. I had no doubts that Hendon was the right pick. Now, we just need to see it on the field. We need to see how it translates. And that's what I'm going to speak to next. This is the only thing that makes me worry. Kinda. Because it's no secret that Hendon lacked time in a pro style of offense. And that was really his biggest hurdle. It wasn't, the leg. It wasn't, playing the game of football. It wasn't his intelligence. It wasn't his arm. It was the fact that he lacked time in a real pro style offense. He had to get by it. I think he'll get by it. We have yet to see. He played in this real funny offense that really doesn't translate to the NFL with a style of pacing and spacing style that they ran. But sitting behind Goff is exactly what this guy needs. Give him a couple years, maybe 3. Let him learn. Let him get his body right. Play in the NFL a little bit. I think that's exactly what he needs. Just needs a little bit of time. Like someone said earlier today, it's like a fine wine. The longer it sits, the better it gets. I think that's going to happen for Hendon Hooker today. I think that the longer he sits, the better he's going to get. We've seen it happen with a few great quarterbacks, that have come through the NFL. And I'm not putting Hendon on that pedestal just yet. But I am excited to see what he has next season. I really am. Personally, I always felt his age was fine.
Hooker, to me, yeah, he's a little older. That just means he's a little bit wiser.
He's going to sit a bit anyways and learn. And if he were to enter the equation, when he's 28, 29 years old, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of quarterbacks are playing well into their mid-30s. Some of them even into their 40s. And they've played 20 years. So at 28, 29, he's only, put a few years in the NFL without really getting on the field. I mean, his body's going to be fine. He's not getting all banged up. But your goal, for any quarterback that you bring in through the draft, and your goal really for any player is to get them through 2 contracts. If you can at least draft a player and get them through 2 contracts, if they're good enough to earn that second contract, you've pretty much done your job. Not every player is going to stick around for 10 seasons. Not every player is going to stick around for 5. But a quarterback, one that isn't playing a whole lot from the beginning, that's kind of, in this backup role and learning, heck, they could play for 15 or 20 easy. It's different when you're out there on the field and you're getting banged around all the time and taking the hits, as opposed to, yeah, you'll take a few licks in practice, but it's not like it used to be. The quarterbacks are supposed to be untouchable in practice. And even during the game, I mean, these guys are supposed to lay off of them. So I don't think that age matters a bit. Matter of fact, I was more excited that we had a mature, said that kind of funny, mature Hendon Hooker. I'm all about it, man. I'm wanting to see more mature guys. Now, it doesn't mean I want, every guy coming into the Lions to be 25 years old, but this is a unique situation. Your quarterbacks, your kickers, I mean, the guys that don't get banged around a lot, they can do it. So last thing I'll finish with here is Dan Campbell had this to say also on Hendon's age. He said, we all kind of like the fact that he was older. I think you want your quarterback to be a little bit more mature. They got a lot on their plate. They certainly do, because Goff has so many haters for no reason. It's like you guys are riding with him, and the minute he throws an interceptions, you all fall off the bandwagon. Support the guy. Pick him up. I'm here to be critical. I'm critical enough on some of these guys. It's just what I do. I find the stats and the information and the facts, and I try to deliver it so you guys can chew on it and think about it too. But look, there's nothing wrong with being critical on your team. As long as you're doing the other side of it too, right? And, picking the guys up and rooting for them every single week. And we definitely do a lot of that. I don't know too many people that spend, as many hours as I do watching tape and putting together stats and facts to deliver some videos for more fans. But I love it. I love every minute of it. And I'm so excited that I get to do it for everybody. And I really appreciate you all for watching this video today. It means a lot. It really does. So I appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And we've got a couple more videos coming out today. So check them out. They may pop up. They may not on this one. But if they do, check them out. And we'll see you all next time. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. And until next time or the next video, please take care of yourself. All right. Bye-bye.
Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. He's going on the first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, take it down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.